My dad called me a loser and banned me from the family trip. I said, no problem. 18 days later he texted, can you pay $2,300 for your sister? My father referred to me as a loser and refused to let me join the family trip. I said, no problem. 3 weeks later my father texted, can you pay for your sister's next semester? I simply replied, this loser won't send you a single dollar. 12 minutes later, my phone erupted with 27 missed calls. You'd think that paying for your sister's college tuition every semester would elicit a thank you, a phone call, a card, or any other sign that you're more than just an ATM with a pulse. But not in my family. In my family I was always the difficult one, the self-sufficient one, the one who chose to leave early, relocate, and live this lifestyle. Meanwhile, my little sister Hannah Mitchell, the delicate genius, could burn down the kitchen and still be applauded. It's been like this since we were children. When Hannah Mitchell spilled juice on my mother's laptop, I was grounded because I was the older child and should have been supervising her. When she failed arithmetic, I felt compelled to help her every evening, regardless of whether I had my own job or schoolwork to complete. Her problems always seemed to fall on my lap. Now consider the past few years. I work in technology as a freelancer, completing contract work, developing web apps, and launching small businesses. It's unpredictable, but I manage. I am not wealthy, but I can pay my rent, save money, and live on my own terms. Still, for some reason, I was tasked with covering Hannah Mitchell's college expenses. It began as a simple thing. She needed help with the books, then she needed help with rent, then her car broke down, then her roommate left, then she had to change her major. And somehow, I became the contingency plan for everything. The saddest part is that no one ever asked. Not really. My parents are constantly bombarding me with guilt. Mom places late-night calls, family emergencies, the subtle digs about how I had no children, no mortgage, and a lot of money to help. At one point, I was contributing around $2,300 per month to Hannah Mitchell's life. Meanwhile, she didn't answer my texts. Then, in July, I received an unexpected phone call from my father. I hadn't communicated with him in weeks. He didn't even say hello. He got right into it. We began discussing attitudes and family priorities. I said I wasn't being supportive. Said I was causing division, and then Dad said it. You're not coming on the family trip this year. You don't belong there with that attitude. You're a loser, Lauren Mitchell. You made your choices. There was a long pause. I didn't defend myself. I simply said, no problem, and hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't vent to anyone. I just sat there wondering how easily he could erase me. All the help, all the money, and all the bending over backwards was gone with a single sentence. 18 days later, as I eat lunch, my phone vibrates. A text message from Dad. Can you cover your sister's expenses for next semester? She is short. No apologies. No small talk. Just another expectation that I'd step in. I replied, this loser won't send you a single dollar. 12 minutes later my phone exploded. 27 missed calls. Nobody wanted to understand Hannah Mitchell, including my Florida aunt. They only wanted to repair everything and return things to their original state. But I was done. I wasn't going to explain myself. I wasn't going to say it. It was the first time I had noticed it. I was not a member of a family. I was part of a system. A system that depended on me. So I determined to be exactly who they thought I was. The loser, ungrateful daughter, and self-centered one. And if they thought things were difficult now, they had no idea what lay ahead. The best part about being labeled as a black sheep is that expectations vanish quickly. No more assuming I can solve everything. No more counting money until I have earned it. Something changed the moment I sent that text. I could feel it. My phone didn't stop buzzing for hours. Dad called back to back. Mom left voicemails which I never answered. Hannah Mitchell wrote paragraph after paragraph about worry, anxiety, and how everything was falling apart. I did not reply. Not out of spite. I just didn't get the idea. Every message sounded the same. Panic combined with entitlement. For years, I told them to expect me. I answered every call. I handled every emergency. I paid the fee that made them uncomfortable. And the one time I didn't, they pretended the floor was gone beneath them. 4 days later, my cousin Megan Collins texted me. She said she had heard things were stressful and wondered if I was okay. I told her I was fine and wondered why everyone was suddenly so anxious. She stated that my parents were concerned about money. Hannah Mitchell may have to discontinue classes, and everything was uncertain. That word stayed with me because my life had been unclear for years and no one cared. Then came freelance contracts, late hours, and weeks of working non-stop to stay ahead. My uncertainty was not taken into account. I told Megan Collins that I hoped everything went well and left it at that. 10 days passed, then another. According to family rumors, Hannah Mitchell missed the tuition deadline and was forced to move out of her apartment and back home. Apparently she was furious. Not at the circumstances, but at me. That part made me laugh. My parents had always insisted that Hannah Mitchell have independence, space, and the freedom to grow. It turned out that independence came with a monthly bill, which I was expected to pay silently. Without me, their version of stability collapsed quickly. I made a decision at that point. If they thought I was irresponsible and selfish, I would stop correcting them. I stopped explaining. I stopped clarifying. I have stopped proving anything. When my mother texted me, "Call me when you calm down," I did not respond. I ignored Dad's email asking if we could speak like adults. If someone sent me a vague message about family issues, I responded in short, empty sentences. That's rough. It drove them crazy. They wanted the old me back. The person who went into excessive detail. The person who became alarmed when there was silence. The person who rushed to fix everything. That I was occupied. Not even doing anything dramatic. Simply living, working, sleeping normally, spending time with friends and saving money that remained in my account for once. One night I checked my spam folder and found an email from my mother. Please include only the subject line. You've changed. There is no message. Just that. I looked at it and felt relieved that she was correct. I had changed. And for the first time the shift was entirely for my benefit. What they didn't realize was that while they were scrambling to fill the gaps I used to fill, I had just signed a contract that would significantly alter my financial situation. I did not tell anybody. I did not drop a hint. I let them assume the worst. If I were the loser now, I was going to play the part perfectly. And that's when they started to work harder. By mid-September the silence had grown too loud for them. They cracked. It started with strange attempts to reset the vibe, like my mother commenting on old Facebook photos I had forgotten about. A beautiful girl in a 2017 photo. Miss this day behind a blurry photo of us at a family cookout that I don't recall enjoying. Then came the boxes. At first I thought someone had the wrong address, but they were from her. A pair of fuzzy socks, a candle, and a paperback novel I mentioned enjoying several years ago. There was no note inside, just these strange little incentives, as if she was hoping that inhaling enough vanilla-scented wax would help me forget everything. I did not reply. Then I received an email from my father. The subject line indicated a quick update. It was anything but quick. 3 paragraphs. The first one concentrated on Hannah Mitchell's resilience. The second talked about how difficult it was financially, with tuition, rent, and car repairs. The third was the pitch. If you can contribute even a few $100s, it will make a big difference for your sister. We understand what was said, but she really needs her older sister right now. I sat with that one for a while, not because I was tempted, but because I knew they weren't getting it. They still assumed this was about money and that my silence could be bargained for. 4 days later, Hannah Mitchell called me. I picked up, not to talk, but to listen. She tried to appear impartial, saying she was stressed and noticed things were strange, but she didn't want us to be apart forever. She even said, "I get it now kind of." Which surprised me given that she was still living rent-free in a home that I had helped keep afloat for 4 years. She eventually realized that she needed help with a class. They said it was necessary. The financial assistance fell through. They said it cost only $1,250. I said, "I'll think about it." Then I blocked her again. It wasn't about money. I had the money. I had a lot more than she realized. What I no longer possessed was the willingness to be used simply because it was more convenient for them than being truthful. What none of them knew was that, while they were busy trying to fill the gaps I left behind, I had just signed an 8-month contract with a startup for a product management position that was entirely remote, paid $13,500 per month, and included a sizable incentive for meeting goals early. The old me would have said, "Don't worry, I'll help out again soon," softening the blow and convincing them that things were returning to normal. However, I was curious what they would do without the safety net. I began to hear small details from others. A family friend informed me that my mother had taken on a part-time job at a gift shop on weekends. According to a cousin, my father had secretly obtained a personal loan. Hannah Mitchell was back home and in a good mood every day, which made me happy. Every time someone said they were struggling, my only thought was, good, they should struggle. They should live in the mess they built and realize that the person they thought was the most disposable was the one holding everything together. I went low contact with everyone. There will be no more general, "I hope everything is fine" statements. No more polite responses to check-ins. I wasn't angry any longer. I was done. And while they were breaking down, I was planning my getaway. I hadn't traveled for 3 years. Not because I couldn't, but because I was always on call. Now I was off the clock. So I booked a flight to somewhere warm and beautiful. 4. I got a villa with friends, a private pool, and an ocean view. I brought bikinis I'd never worn before, as well as a dress I bought months ago but hadn't taken off the tags. When we landed and I felt the heat on my face, I took a picture. We're in the water, with drinks in hand, genuine smiles on our faces, and no worries in sight. I shared it without any context, service, or stress. They noticed it within an hour. I didn't tag anyone, but the next morning, I got 6 texts from my mother. "We just want our family back. Please call. Let's talk when you're ready." And I looked at the television, sitting by the pool, sun on my legs, coffee in hand, and realized I wasn't even sad. I was entertained because for once, I wasn't pleading. The morning after I shared the vacation photo, my phone did not turn on immediately. It became feral. I awoke to missed calls stacked on top of one another, like spam. "Hannah Mitchell, an aunt, has been saved as a house." I had no idea who it was. I listened to nothing. I simply silenced my phone and went downstairs to meet my friends for breakfast. That was the surprise element for me. I felt normal. There is no pit in my stomach. I don't need to explain myself. The ocean was right there. The air smelled fresh. For once, I didn't feel any pressure. Later that afternoon, while everyone else went swimming, I checked my messages. Hannah Mitchell submitted one that stood out. "Why would you post something like that, knowing what we're going through?" I didn't respond, but then I saw an SMS from an unknown number. There's no name or emoji, just one statement. "You should probably talk to your father about the account." That completely stopped me. I stared at the screen for longer than necessary. I hadn't discussed accounts with anyone in years. I did not respond. I didn't ask who it was. I turned my phone face down and went back outside, but the rest of the day felt strange, as if something had changed beneath everything. I finished the trip. I didn't let it destroy anything. We drank excessively. We stayed up late. I laughed more than I had in months. I even posted another photo on the last night. Sunset, barefoot, with no caption. When I got home, the first thing I did was open my laptop. When I first began assisting Hannah Mitchell years ago, my father insisted that we open a joint account. He claimed it would be cleaner and easier to track family matters, tuition, rent, and emergency situations. I hadn't logged in for over a year because I trusted him. That is on me. The login is still working. Initially, what I saw didn't make sense. My deposits arrived like clockwork. There were large and consistent withdrawals, but I was unable to identify any others. Not small ones, but large casual ones at weekend resort prices. An expensive restaurant located far from Hannah Mitchell's college. I knew she didn't drive, so I made monthly car lease payments. I scrolled and scrolled. That's when everything clicked into place. They hadn't just relied on me. They had not just relied on me. They were secretly using the money I paid Hannah Mitchell to fund their own lifestyle. And when I cut them off, the whole structure collapsed because there was nothing underneath it. There is no backup plan or funding. It's just me. I closed the account that night, transferred the remaining balance, reset all passwords, and removed myself from shared documents. Everything that smelled of access was gone. 5 days later, Hannah Mitchell arrived at my house. There is no warning or text, simply a knock. I opened the door just enough to see her standing there, bag on, hair pulled back and looking smaller than I remembered. She said she didn't know. She claimed her father told her I had stopped helping because I was angry and unstable. She stated that she assumed he was handling the rest himself. I asked her to consider it for a second. She didn't argue. She just stood there. Then she asked if we could talk inside. I said no. I informed her that she could no longer avoid accepting responsibility, that whatever story she believed did not alter the facts, and that I was not going to solve this one. She inquired about her next course of action. I said, "Figure it out." And I did. I closed the door. That night my father sent me a message that was neither angry nor regretful. It was calculated. He said, "Families make mistakes. That we shouldn't let money destroy us. That we could start fresh if I was willing to be reasonable again." I read it once and erased it. Because the reality was that I had already moved on. They could sense it. It became quiet after I closed the door on Hannah Mitchell and sealed all financial backdoors that they used to drain me. Not true silence, but the kind of silence that comes when someone is overthinking their next move. I had seen this pattern before. It's a loop of manipulation. Guilt comes first, followed by fury and desperation masquerading as kindness. When all else fails, they start pulling levers. They believe you are too terrified to cut. This time, they attempted everything. 5 days after Dad's final message, with the fake olive branch and the hushed request for money, I received a call from reception at work. Someone claiming to be my mother contacted the workplace and requested to speak with me directly. She advised me to answer my phone and ensure my well-being. My manager mentioned it casually during our weekly call, half jokingly. "Your mom sounds sweet," he said. "A little intense?" I smiled, explaining that she was just worried and that I was angry. I never told her where I worked, not formally. I assumed she'd either pieced it together from a client testimonial or had spent enough time on LinkedIn to find me. Regardless, it was invasive and deliberate. So I immediately contacted her. "Please do not call my workplace again. This is harassment. I'm not playing games with you." She did not reply. Instead, she escalated. The next day, my Aunt Diane Parker, who never calls unless someone dies, called me during lunch. She sounded tearful. Said my mother was not sleeping. Hannah Mitchell was going insane and thinking about dropping out. That Dad was humiliated because the entire extended family knew I was going to abandon them. I asked her one question. "Diane, did anyone tell you that I covered Hannah Mitchell's expenses for 4 years?" Silence. "No." "Maybe don't call me crying about what they think they've lost." I hung up. 2 hours later, I get a text from Hannah Mitchell. After weeks of silence, there is no apology or acknowledgement, just this. "Dad is furious." He said, "You stole from the family account. Don't pretend you're a victim." I read it twice before blocking her again. Allow them to speak. Let them twist it. Allow them to completely rewrite the story to portray me as a villain. I didn't care anymore because I had something they couldn't take. Freedom. And I wasn't finished with it. That weekend I booked another trip, this time to Portugal. I'd always wanted to go but never had the time. The timing never seemed ideal. There was always an emergency, a tuition deadline, or a new mess that I needed to help clean up. But I only had one deadline. My flight. I did not tell anybody. I just packed my bag, boarded the plane, and left. I stayed in a small apartment near Porto's waterfront. I drank wine with people who didn't know my name. I ate foods I couldn't pronounce. Slept in. On the 4th day I posted a photo of a ceramic plate with grilled octopus, crusty bread and a full glass of white wine. There are no captions or tags. It didn't matter. They saw it because the next day, I received an email from my father with the subject line, "Where do we go from here?" Attached was a spreadsheet, an actual Excel file titled, Family Budget 2027. I opened it out of morbid curiosity. He had listed all of Hannah Mitchell's expenses, including tuition, car insurance, therapy, utilities, books, internet, gas and groceries. He then added a column called Projected Assistance from Lauren Mitchell and entered a figure. $1,800 per month. There's a note at the bottom. If you're serious about rebuilding trust, this is how you prove it. I stared at the screen, half laughing. They didn't even try to hide it anymore. There was no manipulation or false sweetness, just expectation. I closed the file and never responded. When I got home, there was a letter waiting for me at the front desk of my apartment building. A physical letter without a return address. Inside it simply read, "You've made your point. Can we please talk like adults now? Dinner, no judgment, just family." It was signed. Mom, Dad, and Hannah Mitchell. They were cornered. I could feel it. Not financially, but emotionally. The entire structure had collapsed. The strong family unit image was shredded. People started asking questions they didn't know the answers to. They were unable to function unless someone filled in the gaps. So they invited me to dinner at their house. Promised no guilt or lectures, just a quiet evening to clear the air. I said yes, but not because I desired peace or resolution. I said yes because I wanted to give them one last chance to be honest. Finally, they got an unexpected response. Dinner was scheduled for Saturday at 7 p.m. Their house, which I basically funded from the shadows for 4 years. I hadn't been there since before the fallout. Not since my father called me a loser and refused to invite me on a vacation that I probably paid for. I didn't dress up or bring anything. No wine, no dessert, and no nervous energy. Just me. Hannah Mitchell opened the door. She looked exhausted, with her hair tied up, hoodie on, and dark circles under her eyes. The golden girl glow was gone. Behind her, I noticed my parents already seated, as if they were waiting for a court appearance. We didn't hug. We did not say hello. We sat. The table was arranged as if they were playing family again. Napkins are folded, with some overcooked chicken in the center. It smelled like effort, but the air was stiff. Nobody spoke for 6 minutes. Then my mother began. She expressed a desire for things to go back to normal. That she missed when we were close. She didn't recognize the person I had become. My father picked it up from there. He said I had made my point and that I clearly required space. That the budget was mistaken. Just an idea. He only said numbers. Hannah Mitchell apologized. She admitted she did not know everything. She claimed she was only scared. I hated her. Then they sat there waiting, as if that was sufficient. Maybe it happened once. But I didn't owe them any tears, explanations or anything. So I took a breath and said this. I believe we should all simply forget it. My mother blinked. What do you mean? Let's not pretend that any of this makes sense. Let us not attempt to reset something that has never worked in the first place. You all called me when you needed money. You insulted me when I stopped. You only liked me when I was helpful. So I'm no longer useful, and there's no reason to fix it. We can just be done. They said nothing. I looked at Hannah Mitchell. I hope you graduate. I really do. However, you will have to do it on your own, just like the rest of us. Then I stood up. There was no shouting. Don't slam the door. No dramatic monologues. A simple conclusion to something that should have been over long ago. I walked out, drove home, put my phone on silent, and the whole thing stopped feeling heavy. They didn't call the next day or the day after. There were no more guilt trips, budget documents, or mysterious packages at my doorstep. It was over. Surprisingly, it did not feel like a loss of family. It felt like stepping out of a trap. I don't make many posts these days. I do not need to. I go wherever I want. I eat whatever I like. I pay for only one person. Me. They can call me a loser all they want, but I have never felt more like a winner. It has been 7 weeks since that dinner. 7 weeks ago I stood up from that table, told them we didn't need to fix anything, and walked away from a dynamic I'd been stuck in since I was a teenager. There are no explosions or second thoughts. Only silence. At first I was waiting for something. A guilt text, a rage voicemail, one of those "you misunderstood us" essays they used to enjoy writing. But nothing arrived. Not even from Hannah Mitchell. It's as if they finally understood what I meant. And to be honest, that scared me more than the noise did. Because if someone can stop reaching out so quickly, it makes you wonder how genuine the relationship ever was. It turns out that when I stopped providing, the connection ceased to exist. But here's the thing. The silence didn't hurt as much as I expected it to. It felt clean. After the 4th week, I started to notice something strange. I didn't check my phone every 6 minutes anymore. I wasn't practicing conversations in my head. I wasn't flinching every time I saw a family name in my inbox because they didn't appear at all. And in that space, I began to live as a whole person. I started a side project that I'd been putting off for a year. I caught up on my sleep. Finally joined the yoga studio down the street. I reconnected with a friend I had not seen since college. Someone who, in a single 90-minute coffee date, showed me more genuine warmth than my family had in years. I also checked in with my bank. It's just curiosity. And I saw something I had not seen before. Stability. Not only in money but also in energy, routine and peace. My parents were not depleting my savings with phony emergencies. Hannah Mitchell was not hovering over my shoulder like another. This would be the final favor, and I didn't want to start the day feeling behind schedule. Last weekend I received a message from my cousin Megan Collins. She said she heard I had gone off the grid and that people were concerned about my well-being. I told her that I had never been better. She said quietly, "Good for you. I wish I could do what you did." I told her she could. She didn't respond. I know there's a version of this story that concludes with a dramatic reconciliation, a tearful reunion where everyone finally understands, but real life isn't a film. Sometimes the best ending is to walk away and watch the credits roll in silence. And this is exactly what I'm doing. There will be no more updates, comebacks or fixes.